Steelers legend Terry Bradshaw unleashes on Pittsburgh's quarterback chaos. This is a failure. The four-time Super Bowl champion didn't hold back, and he had a lot to say about Aaron Rodgers, Kenny Pickett, and the franchise's troubling direction. By any measure, Terry Bradshaw is Pittsburgh royalty. The Hall of Fame quarterback led the Steelers to 4 Super Bowl titles in the 1970s, building a legacy of toughness, clutch play, and cold weather brilliance that became the blueprint for what the franchise would expect from its signal callers. But in the years since Ben Roethlisberger hung up his cleats, Bradshaw has watched with growing concern, and now frustration, as his beloved Steelers have stumbled and fumbled in their attempt to fill the most important position in sports. This week, Bradshaw finally let loose. In a blistering interview on 103.7 The Buzz, Bradshaw took aim at the Steelers organization, calling their recent handling of the quarterback position nothing short of a failure. And he didn't stop there. He took particular offense to the franchise's treatment of Kenny Pickett, the former first-round pick once viewed as Roethlisberger's heir apparent. But he also scoffed at Pittsburgh's rumored interest in future Hall of Famer Aaron Rodgers, calling the idea a joke, and suggesting Rodgers should retire to the woods of California instead. Bradshaw's words were raw, passionate, and steeped in both pride and disappointment. Exactly what you'd expect from a man who once bled black and gold. They didn't protect him. Kenny Pickett was supposed to be the bridge to the next Steelers era. A Pitt Panthers star and hometown kid, Pickett came into the league with high expectations. But just 2 seasons into his NFL career, he was shipped out of town, traded to the Philadelphia Eagles in what felt like a quiet, unceremonious departure for a player who was never truly set up for success. Bradshaw, who's had his own roller coaster history with the Steelers front office, took that personally. "I like Kenny Pickett," Bradshaw said. "I liked him at Pitt. I know the kind of kid he is, what he stands for. When the Steelers drafted him, I was hopeful, but they failed him. They didn't protect him. They didn't build around him. No offensive line. No weapons. They wanted to run the football, but didn't have the personnel up front to do it. So what do you expect?" Bradshaw, and never one to sugarcoat his opinions, made it clear that the failure wasn't on Pickett's shoulders. He had no wide receivers to speak of. He had no protection. You throw a kid in there for 2 years in an offense that doesn't fit, and then blame him for the results? That's not how a franchise like the Pittsburgh Steelers is supposed to operate. Kenny wasn't the failure. The Steelers were. A familiar pattern. Bradshaw's criticism didn't end with Pickett. He drew a direct line between the franchise's current missteps and the infamous quarterback drought that followed his own retirement in 1983, a period of instability that lasted 2 decades. "It's déjà vu," Bradshaw said. "When I left, they didn't have a plan. They passed on Dan Marino in the '84 draft. Dan freaking Marino, a Pittsburgh guy. And what happened? We wandered in the wilderness until Ben showed up in 2004. That's 21 years of mediocrity at the quarterback spot." Indeed, Pittsburgh fans of a certain age remember all too well the carousel of names that followed Bradshaw: Mark Malone, Bubby Brister, Neil O'Donnell, Cordell Stewart, Tommy Maddox. Talented players, sure, but none who could bring the franchise back to the promised land. It wasn't until Ben Roethlisberger fell into Pittsburgh's lap with the 11th overall pick in the 2004 draft that the franchise found solid footing again. Roethlisberger went on to win 2 Super Bowls and set nearly every major passing record in Steelers history. But his retirement in 2021 brought the team full circle. And now, history may be repeating itself. Rodgers to Pittsburgh? Bradshaw says no way. If Bradshaw's frustration with the Pickett saga was smoldering, his reaction to the team's interest in Aaron Rodgers was outright volcanic. "That's a joke. That to me is just a joke," Bradshaw said, not bothering to hide his disdain. "You're going to bring in Aaron Rodgers for 1 year? Are you kidding me?" Rodgers, currently a free agent after his tenure with the New York Jets, was derailed by a devastating Achilles injury in Week 1 last season, has been floated as a possible stopgap solution for several quarterback-needy teams. But Bradshaw wants no part of that for reasons both practical and philosophical. He needs to stay in California, go somewhere and chew on bark, whisper to the gods out there, Bradshaw said with a laugh, taking a not-so-subtle jab at Rodgers' offbeat lifestyle and perceived lack of team-first commitment.